We rolling, Leah? Okay. Centerville City Council is now in session for January 7th, 2020. We're a little bit behind, but we had a nice work session which the public was open to, where we had our 2 senators and representative from the state that briefed us on some upcoming issues with the legislature, and we talked about the tax reform that had passed and ADUs and some and our interchange down here, and so that was good. And then we met with our 4th of July committee chairs as well too, and they're here to do a further report in this meeting. So we welcome all that are here. We thank you for your attendance, and we want to make sure that we can conduct business. So we'll do a roll call starting at the end with Councilman Ince.
Ince here.
Fillmore here. Ivy here.
McEwen here.
Meekum here.
So all 5 of the council members are present, and we thank you for all being here. Let's start with a prayer or thought from Council Member Meekum.
Well, just for a thought, I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year. And I hope that Centerville has a great year ahead of us, and I feel like we do. We've got a good council, we have wonderful officers, we have a great city staff, and I'm just thankful for all of them and glad to look forward to the new year. Our kind Heavenly Father, we thank Thee so very much for being here tonight, for living in a wonderful community where people serve each other. We're so thankful for our freedoms that we enjoy here. And we ask Thee, please, Heavenly Father, to pour down your blessings upon this community, to keep our first responders safe, to bless our city staff and a council that will work hard together to do the things that are best for those in our community. And we ask Thee to please bless those in the community to have open hearts and watch for each other, that they may be able to help each other out. We ask Thee to bless us this night to make wise decisions on behalf of this community, and say His prayers, Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Council Member Meekum. If you'd all rise with me and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's always great to do, and I heard some young voices right up front that already had that memorized, so that was nice. This is the part open session. This is to discuss anything that might be on somebody's mind, that and so you can come to either one of these microphones and take 2 to 3 minutes just to discuss those things that might be on your mind. So that's now open. Introduce yourself if you're inclined to come up and do it, and where you're from. If no takers for the open session part, we'll move on then, and we'll move to the business of the meeting. And we had an election in November, as you know, and we re-elected 3 council members, and their term started this year. And so we have a swearing in of these 3 council members. And I think Judge Miller is going to do that for us. Thanks, Judge Miller.
Thank you. And those who are to be sworn in are already sitting up there. Why don't we have all 3 of you, though, come down in the area right below. And on behalf of all of the citizens, as I thought of this today, I thought how the gratitude is not just for their service and each of your service, but for the families who stand together with them, behind them, and make it possible for them to serve. So we have much to be grateful for in our community, and we thank you for your service. So will each of you take this oath? If you will please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you.
While they're signing that, I want to thank all the council members as well too, including the two that are up here that are into their 2 years into their term, for all that they do and the time that they give to our community. And I saw a lot of you acknowledging that as well too. So thank you so much, and thank you, Judge Miller.
Yes.
For,
I've been here 6 years.
oh, you've been here 6 years, but they're in the 2 years of their second term. That's right. So. All right, the next item on our agenda is back 6 months ago, we had a little celebration on the 4th of July, and our 4th of July chairs, Kim and Brian Curnow, were going to give us an update of that 2019 4th of July celebration.
Well, my name is Brian Curnow. Thank you for all that you guys do for Centerville, because you put in a lot of time, and I didn't realize how much time I'd be putting in by doing this. Honestly speaking, I was bit off more than I chew, but that's usually how everything goes with what I do. The Centerville 4th of July, actually it happens on July 3rd. Show of hands, how many people have no idea that we do fireworks here? Anybody? Honestly, anybody not know? I was, there were some neighbors of mine that had no idea, and well, it's inexcusable. And that just goes to more communication on our end. We've got to get more word out. We're going to use social media this year on a different level with more videos, making it look current and hyping it and making it look cool. We want everybody to show up. It was an absolute success. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I've done a lot of events and parties and things like that, and that was the most fun I've ever had. We brought in Eclipse 6 as our headlining band, and I love them so much. I'd love them to come back again the next year. They catered to the youth, but they were playing very modern and current songs, all a cappella. They had 100 kids dancing in front of the stage, and we just pulled the ropes down and let everybody go up there, and they embraced that. A lot of bands don't like people to be near, but and they're Centerville residents. We had a Pratt audio, and oftentimes sound, like the sound system, just kind of flies under the radar. People have no idea why the party is going so cool, and oftentimes it's the music that creates the ambience and its energy. And this year we brought a sound system that is 6 or 7 times bigger than they've been using in years past. And we did it for not much more money. Looking at the budget, noticed a lot of holes in the budget that could money be better spent doing different things. And we want to continue to refine that, and next year bring in entertainment or vendors or things that people have never seen before, just to make it exciting. There were no safety or injuries as far as I'm aware. There was no safety or problems throughout the whole event, and we came in within budget. I can't remember if I said that or not, but we'd love to have more money, because we can make it a bigger party. When we have ideas around that as well. How do we bolster the budget and make it even bigger to where it starts feeding off of itself? And one of the big things that I keyed in on when we took this chairperson role is sustainability. Like, the one thing I wanted to figure out is, why are we having a new chairperson every year or every 2 years? Like, why isn't that person still doing it? And it's a huge undertaking. There's lots of moving parts, and one thing I wanted to figure out how to do is make it to where when we leave, it should be able to run itself. It won't be able to, but we want to get to that spot to where Maybe there's more involvement, like I served on the Parks and Rec Committee. That's a perfect group to help keep this sustaining going. But these are just ideas. It was a fantastic celebration. There were so many things, because I did the DJing and the just all the live music and stuff, where my sweet wife here did all the attractions. Do you want to speak to that? There was so much stuff that happened that I heard about days later that were there that I didn't get to see. All I saw were the photographs, so I was in that little sound booth. I think one of the coolest things that they brought in were these, and they're becoming more popular, like those lawn signs, except they're making them into like houses and small like features. And notice just like how much the community loved taking pictures by these little set pieces. And it said something just like how 4th of July Centerville, just really cool though. We're seeing them a lot in homecomings with missionaries and such, but we'd like to take that to a whole nother level as well. Just a lot like the Christmas lights. People go there and just love to take pictures there. And so kind of that's the vision we'd like to do next year. But this year, we had a lot of fun doing it. And we had a great committee behind us as well. So, or any questions for you guys?
So we usually get, here's how we did on our budget.
Go ahead.
Usually that's in a written format that we get that says,
Yes.
here's what we had, here's what we
We're going
spent.
to have to get to this, so
Okay.
I'll have we can get that to you. So the budget, we came within budget. It was 26,000, I believe. We end up spending the 26,708. We were over a little bit because of the stage. We ended up using a stage, and we did communicate that with the city first, and they approved that. So we are within budget. Do you want me to go into detail of each line item?
Not necessarily,
No?
no.
Oh, no, okay. And we'll get you a copy of that.
Thank you.
So we're,
And thank you for doing it. It is a huge operation.
That was fun.
So is there any more questions before we?
No, just a
Don't-
huge thank you for
That's-
all of the time
we're
that you put
sorry
into it.
took so long. It's like almost July.
So they had
I'll take
wonderful
responsibility for that.
parade chairs and food chairs and
Yes.
all sorts of sub chairs as well too. They were fun to work with because Kim would always say to me, Brian's got so many ideas, you gotta like calm him down a bit, so, you know.
I guess I would ask one question.
Yes.
Other than more money,
Mm-hmm.
what is the biggest single thing that could be done to help?
To help.
To
Venture
help you
capital.
out, is that your stand? Councilman?
Other than more money,
Oh, other than more money, the biggest single thing that the city could do to help?
Or,
that anybody could do to help,
Next biggest need, I guess.
next biggest need.
ooh,
And maybe that's tied to my question, because I was going to say, thank you so much for doing this again. And are are all or most of your chairs also going to do a second year?
no. So we have a few people that are, I'd say, well, no, I shouldn't say all. A few of them, yes. A few of them, yes. But some of the major ones, like food and parade, we need to get new ones.
Get rolling on
So,
that right away.
yes. So,
And I
yeah.
think a lot of it has to do with people are volunteering because we ask them to, versus finding the cook who loves to cater and they see this as like some big inspiration. That's something I've always wanted to do and now I have a budget. That's kind of like how we got involved in this, is I love the entertainment. And I know we can do the same thing with the catering, or not the catering, but the food portion of it. And even though it's down to the parade, I mean, basically the parade person just did what they've always done. And I think that's where we lose people who don't want to come back just because this is a big chore and it feels like work because it's not their idea. Whereas I'd like to have the parade chair, like, what are you inspired? What inspires you? And just let them go, because then that's, and for this very same reason why you guys are councilmen. You're very passionate about what you do and you'll put in 1,000 hours if it's necessary. And I know if we find the right people to chair the positions, not just volunteers, but people who are passionate, that's what's gonna help quite a bit.
And I would like to see, rather than, I think we mentioned this earlier, but I'd like to see not just who we know in our little neighborhood, but I would like to see the help within the community. So throughout all of the community. I would love to be working with several people and see who would like to come, so we can come together and put on an amazing event. So,
Right.
you know.
Well,
now
I would propose that we give them a round of applause.
that's right.
A
That's where we're
standing.
going. All right, next item on the agenda, this is a public hearing item regarding municipal water line and public utility easements at the Sheffield Downs subdivision, and staff presentation on that is going to be by Lisa Romney, our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. You have before you an application to vacate 2 water line and public utility easements. These were easements that were originally dedicated to the city for a culinary water line, but we also asked for a public utility easement along with that. As far as I know, these easements only have the culinary water line in them, which has now been moved. So the applicant is requesting that these easements be vacated because the water lines have been moved with the construction of the subdivision and actually put within the public right-of-way for most of it. So they're requesting to vacate the culinary water line easement on the west and south boundaries of the Sheffield Downs subdivision. There are some statutory requirements for vacating municipal easement, and so we have provided the noticing for this. Typically, these would have been vacated before we recorded the plat, but we were not able to get the noticing out in time, so we're doing them after the fact. But they will be taken off of all of the rear lots of the subdivision. So you are required to have a public hearing on this matter. And by statute, the council needs to find that there's good cause to vacate these public easements and that the public interest and no person will be materially injured for the vacation. Again, we have sent notice to all the other utility companies, making sure there aren't lines within these easements. And we have heard back from the major utility companies that they're okay with vacating these easements. I've also talked with a neighboring property owner of Ace earlier this week. He had some questions about it, but I think those questions have been answered. So staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2002. The applicant, Brighton Homes, represented by Taylor Spendlove, is here as well, if you'd like to hear from him, and then also have your public hearing.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions for Lisa before we allow Taylor to come up as the applicant?
Yes. I represent Davis Community Housing Authority. And,
If you can come to the microphone for the, but we need to hear from the applicant first.
Yeah, we're going to do, well, it's a public hearing, so you'll be able to come up at that point in time. Hi, Taylor.
Hi.
Introduce yourself for the
My name's
record.
Taylor Spendlove. I'm with Brighton Homes. So just to kind of add to what Lisa said, what we're asking to be vacated is the water line easement. As we went through the approval process for the subdivision, that was the plan all along, but we had to relocate that. The sewer easement that was behind those lots, the sewer district has already vacated as well. Their Davis Housing, now that I know that they're here, they have a separate easement that's not a PUE, but it's in favor of them, that is not being removed with this vacation.
Thank you, Taylor. For those that are here that don't know what we're talking about, this is up on Pages Lane, where the old Dick's used to be. That's called the Sheffield Downs subdivision. So if there's no questions for the applicant, then we will now open it up for a public hearing. And all I request is that you give your name and where you're from. And so that would be a perfect time now. So the public hearing is now open.
Thank you. My name is Trevor Ward with Davis Community Housing Authority. I think Mr. Spendlove just stated that this particular easement is not going to be affected by the release of the other easements, and we just wanted to verify that was the case. I do have deed in hand here of that easement if you do need to see that and if it were affected. But we just wanted to verify that this was going to be intact through this particular process. So if it's not going to be affected, I don't think I need to be up here any longer. But thank you.
Thanks so much. Further comment on public hearing on this matter? All right, if not, I will close the public hearing, and we would entertain, Taylor, any other further response, or are you good?
I see people looking at Lisa about this easement. So the old sewer line that was there, the housing authority had a sewer easement in place to attach their line to that sewer line. That sewer line is no longer there. It's not related to the water or the public utility easement that we're discussing. That sewer easement is still on the plat currently, and we're working on a way to figure out if we can get that one vacated as well. So it's a separate, completely different easement, not related to any public utility or the water line.
And that was just the same thing I was going to say. We're only vacating 2 culinary water line easements that were granted to the city.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And you're comfortable with the details of what was just explained?
Yes, so we have engineering drawings showing these easements only on the Sheffield Downs portion of the property.
And the sewer and the
Right, we're
housing
not,
authority is on in a different spot.
yeah, we are not vacating any sewer easements or dealing with any sewer easements. Those have already been vacated by the sewer district.
So I'd make a motion that we approve ordinance 2020-02 for the Sheffield Downs easement vacation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, let's do a roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Ince.
Aye.
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 That motion passes 5-0. Was there some questions down there? Okay, thank you. All right. Item number 4, this is zoning map amendment, Devore property rezoned from agricultural low to residential low. This is something that was brought up at both the December 3rd council meeting and the December 17th council meeting. We had done a public hearing on December 3rd on it, and it had left a public comment open through emails and that sort of thing for another couple, 3 weeks after that. And so that's a little bit of a history of it. There's been some further developments today, and so is Russell Wilson here? Russ, will you come up and fill us in?
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, City Council. My name is Russ Wilson. I'm with Symphony Homes. And on behalf of Symphony Homes, we'd just like to request that our application be tabled to the next City Council meeting to give us a little bit more time to talk about some options, different zoning options with the property owners as well as city staff.
Thanks, Russ. Any questions for him?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Russ. If that's the case, do we have a motion on that?
So moved. Motion to
Second.
table to the next regularly scheduled city council meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, let's move then to item number 5. This is the Utah Clean Diesel Program grant for our trucks within our Public Works Department. And I think we have Mark Marchant here. Mark, you here?
He's all the way in the back. I saw
There he
him.
is.
He's hiding.
Come on up, Mark, when you get a chance.
Jeez. It just leaves you more time.
I noticed you're hesitating until there's a smaller crowd.
That's right. Okay, so this was a grant that I found after we didn't receive any of the VW grants. So it's a little bit different. It's only a 25% reimbursement on the total truck package. We have 2 years to expend the funds. They give us $95,000 for 2 separate vehicles. So I guess what we're asking for is a commitment for the next 2 years for 2 new trucks that the Department of Air Quality will participate in 25% of the cost.
Remind me on our fleet replacement, where were we on that? Didn't we already have 2 trucks programmed in?
We did, but
Okay.
they took the one out because we didn't receive any of the VW
Okay.
funds.
Did we get a report on that I missed, why we didn't end up getting the VW funds?
They
state took
allocated
it.
the money throughout different parts of the state. They just sent a letter, and I think the letter was forwarded along.
And we saw it. I'm not sure when exactly, but I remember seeing it.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so what this does is this, and Lisa, little clarity on the contract termination date. So the funds that they're using are 2018 leftover monies, and so that's why the termination date on the contract was for 2020. But I have spoken with them today, and they're changing the contract termination date to 2021, September 30th of 2021. So we have until September 30th of 2021 to complete the 2, what they would call project builds for the trucks.
And do you think you can get trucks in?
If we order early enough, I think we can. So I think if we order trucks in March or April, and then they'll be in 3, 4, 5 months, which will put us into the new fiscal year, so we can pay for them with the new monies budgeted, I believe we'll be able to work through it.
But to George's question, this doesn't actually alter the number of vehicles that we saw in the original plan for the fleet replacement, is that right?
No, the original plan was 4 that we were looking to replace through the VW grant, and this is only 2 that we're.
So the original plan was 4, and so far we've done 0.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what does change is we don't have the revenue from the grant to support the purchase of
Yes.
4. And then we have to evaluate, not in this fiscal year, so we have to evaluate for next fiscal year what that budget would look like.
Okay.
But those funds will go unexpended this year, our match, anyway.
Gotcha.
But we do have 1 left in the current budget, right?
So what we did is the $170,000, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, we did still order 1,
We did.
but we're paying full price for
Yes.
that 1. So we're instead of getting 2 for $170,000, we're getting 1 for $170,000,
And
approximately.
We can't divert some of this grant to offset that?
No,
No, because we've already purchased
Yes.
this
Oh,
item.
Okay. Can we send it back and repurchase it?
If you want to pay the restocking fee.
Depends on what it is.
Maybe.
There are contract provisions that prohibit use of the grant funds for prior purchases.
Fair enough. So since this is going to span fiscal years, how do we give a commitment on something that we haven't budgeted yet?
If we do a contract here and we choose not to budget for it, I don't know what the clawback or termination is, but I don't believe there would be any
I didn't find any.
punishment, so to say.
If we don't do it, then we just don't comply with the
We just
contract.
say we don't want the
won't
money.
get the funds.
And that's probably why they have 2018 money available, is that you've had other entities back out and it's been available and they need to expend those funds.
And they don't want to up the percentage to sweeten the deal?
this is actually a different program. This is monies that the federal EPA and the state put into a pool for Utah only, is what this is.
Some good research. I love it when we get some matching money from elsewhere, so thank you.
It's helpful.
Mark's done a really good job. Commend Mark for continuing to look for these grant funds. He comes with these, we have conversations. He's done a really good job applying for them himself, which is really great, and researching them, so I applaud Mark for doing
Great
that.
job.
So 25% of 170,000 twice, so you're talking
95.
95.
90,000.
95,000 is what they've given us.
So we need a motion on that, right?
Yeah, so my recommendation would be a motion to approve the grant contract, subject to changing the termination date throughout to September 2021.
Yes, and the contract will need to be signed, and they'll get me the new contract by the end of this week, is what she told me.
So moved.
Yeah.
What she said.
Second.
So we got a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Councilman Ince?
Aye.
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 Great. Thank you, Mark,
Yep.
for all you're doing. Proceed with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank
One
you.
question. Do we just move forward with staff with getting it signed and, okay, thanks.
Yeah, the documentation says it has to be submitted by Friday.
She's gonna change that, I think. They were working through their finance division. They had made the adjustment to the dates on the contract, but they were gonna
We'll
possibly
extend that.
change that.
Okay.
So, I'll get with you, Lisa.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Item number 6 on the agenda is appointment to South Davis Sewer District Board. This was tabled from 12/17. We're looking to appoint D.C. Hanson to the South Davis Sewer District Board of Trustees, resolution number 2020-01.
I'd make a motion to approve 2020-01, reappointing D. Hanson to the South Davis Sewer Board.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Further discussion?
I'm just going to go on record that whereas I hear that Dee is the right person to continue in this position, I do get concerned when we have individuals who've served on boards more than 20 years, which is where Dee's at. I just feel in this particular case, based on what I've heard, this is probably the right decision, but I would encourage us to look towards rotation more frequently than that.
And I also would go on to say, in talking with Dee, that with the construction they had of the recycle facility out there, that he told me that he'd be a year to 2, and this is a 4-year appointment, so we will be coming back to replace him at that point in time.
Yeah, and that's not meant in any way to denigrate what Dee's doing. Fundamentally, it's like with the auditors, you get long in the tooth at some point, you need some fresh eyes.
Great.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Good point. All right, let's do a vote on that. Councilman Ince?
Aye.
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 That passes 5-0. Okay, let's move to item number 7. This is City Council appointments to board and committee. So what happens here is every couple of years, the committees and boards, both internal within the city and externally, kind of come up for reappointments. So Lisa has provided to us a little diagram, or she provided to me a little diagram of what spots we need to fill, and yeah, it's here. And so this is what we were looking at, okay? We are looking at Councilman Ince, Centerville Citizen Corps Council, Community Foundation Board, Tree Board, and Mayor Pro Tem. Robin Meekum on Utopia with a UIA alternate. George McEwen on the Davis County Mosquito Abatement District and the South Davis Metro Fire Service Authority alternate. Tammy Fillmore on South Davis Recreation District and Chavis Chamber of Commerce. Stephanie Ivory on the Whitaker Museum Board, and Brant Hanson on the UA Board and the Utopia alternate. Myself as COG, South Davis Metro Fire Service, Dual Creek, Wasatch Integrated Management, and the Community Foundation. With 2 that we need to work out today, I talked with Councilman McEwen, and he was I had him originally on the Parks and Rec Committee, and Councilwoman Fillmore on the trails, and we're looking to have Councilman McMewen on the trails, and Tammy on the Parks and Rec Committee, Councilwoman Fillmore. And then the other one is that I'm talking with Councilwoman Meekum and Councilwoman Ivy. I'm looking at keeping Councilwoman Meekum on the Davis County Cog Transportation, and also keeping Councilwoman Ivy with the Landmarks Commission. So have I covered everything that I talked to you about?
Were we going to do the Chamber of Commerce?
I did bring that up. That
Did you list me as that?
yes.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
You were the Davis Chamber of Commerce. One that I didn't worry about filling, and we kind of look terms that have expired on the Performing Arts Center Administrative Control Board, our city representative. That's been Council Member Fillmore. And Performing Arts Center Administrative Control Board, our RDA representative, that's Council Member Entz. And their terms expire about now as well too. Not that those aren't important, they are. I just, it kind of left that open to see if they wanted to continue on that, or if anybody else wanted to continue on that, so.
Don't we have three on the
Three of us,
ACB?
'cause I've been on it as well.
Yeah, you are, and then I should, on the city representative, there's myself, Council Member Fillmore, and, we need to fill one in, Council Member Blank. And on the Performing Arts Center Administrative Control, and my term goes till 2022. And on the Performing Arts Center Administrative Control Board, RDA representative, Council Member Ivy's term goes till 2022 as well. But we need to, there's three on each of those. So we need, I'll continue to be on one, and Councilwoman Ivy will be, and we need to fill in two more on each one of those.
So Mr. Mayor, if you can help for the sanity of staff, if we can just go through this spreadsheet and just tell us who those are.
From the top?
Just from the top, say who that council member is. That would be.
Just to make sure we've
be
filled all
great.
the boxes from citizens,
do it
starting
from-
with
I
Citizen
think we
Core
all thought we were
Council.
going to go that way. We went the other way instead.
I just had my notes while I was watching the national semifinal football game. I was doing it. So that's what I was going off of. So, from the top, okay? But thanks for letting me do that. Okay, appreciate it. Davis Chamber of Commerce, that will be Council Member Tammy.
Citizen Core Council.
So we're just going to go from
I'm going from the top of your list that you gave me. Is that what we're doing?
But you did say
Top of
bill
this-
for the citizen
You're on the
core.
back side.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought we were going,
There we
you
go.
want me to go down this
You,
list?
you are correct,
You go
Mr.
down
Mayor.
the
She was on the
electronic
back
one.
side.
Paper one.
We're good.
I'm going down to the electronic version?
Okay, go.
Okay. Did you get that, Council, the Davis Chamber of Commerce, Council Member Tammy Fillmore? Davis County, do you want, the ones that are already filled, I won't worry about, okay? Davis County Council of Governments Transportation, that would be Council Member Meekum. South Davis Metro Fire Board alternate would be Council Member McEwen.
Okay, and if you can go back up and make sure you get the
You missed
Davis County
mosquito
mosquito abatement.
Mosquito Abatement, Council Member McEwen.
Oddly, no one wanted to take that from me.
Okay.
It's so fun to listen to you tell about it.
South Deal Creek stays the same, South Davis Rec stays the same, South Davis, we did cover that, South Davis Sewer Improvement. UIA, that's Brant Hanson, with Robin Meekum as the alternate. Utopia, that's Councilwoman Meekum with Brant Hanson as the alternate. Wasatch Integrated Management, that stays myself. Weaver Basin Water, that's appointed by the governor.
Whoops, slow down.
Yeah.
Sorry, on the Utopia, so Councilmember Meekum is the,
Yeah, she's,
Representative, and Hanson is the alternate. Okay.
yes, uh-huh.
So Robin and I were just looking at that one with the Conservancy District with an expiration in 2018. Are they still appointing that, or?
Yeah,
We need to
it's
look
a
into
question.
that.
Okay.
I haven't looked into that yet.
You'll follow up with us on that, Lisa?
Sure.
Okay. You caught up? You ready for me to move second page?
Your second page, her first page.
Okay. Centerville's Citizen Core Council, that would be Councilmember Ince. Centerville City Council Mayor Pro Tem, which we do a suggested one-year term, that would be Councilmember Ince. Centerville, you okay?
Yep.
Centerville Community Foundation Board, that would be Mayor Clark Wilkinson and Councilmember Ince. Landmarks Commission, that would be Councilmember Ivy. Parks and Recreation Committee would be Councilmember Fillmore. Performing Arts Center Administrative Control Board City Rep, that would be Mayor, myself, and we need to see if Councilmember Fillmore is continuing, or whether you want to put somebody else on that.
I don't see any reason to not just continue those,
You okay with that?
because we all are
Okay.
at those meetings anyway, so it
All
doesn't
right.
really matter.
So the Performing Arts Center Administrative Control Board, RDA representative, that would be Councilmember Ivy and Councilmember Ince. RDA Chair is myself. RDA Vice Chair would continue to be Councilmember Ivy. You okay? Trails Committee would be Councilmember McEwen. Tree Board continues Councilmember Ince. And Whitaker Museum Board, Councilmember Ivy. Did we cover them all?
Yes, thank you.
All right, this is in form of a resolution, 2020-02. So now that we got that all filled out, do I have a motion on that resolution?
I'd make a motion to approve the board and committee assignments as just reviewed on the schedule that Lisa has for in resolution 2020-02.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Councilmember Ince.
Aye.
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 Thank you. My motion passes 5-0. Okay, number 8 is the park strip update from Brent Hanson.
So this is just real quick. So there was some concern or suggestion of doing a 5-foot park strip and having it on a council agenda or planning commission. Where we are right now, I just want to give you an update on staff and where we are, just to give you a heads up. I spoke with Mackenzie to, based on the work session we have, is to invite Randy to the next tree board meeting, which will be January 15th, to discuss the utilities. Based on some of the conversations that were during that work session, I think we all agree they could have used a little bit more information, and that might change their opinion, it might not, but just to make sure that they have all the information, that's kind of where we are. So staff will come present the utility issues in the park strips, and if that changes anything, and hopefully along those lines, maybe some recommendations from the tree board. I think they're ones that I also would recommend. And in all honesty, I could see them recommending, and based on what I read, is 8-foot park strips, which I think might be difficult. Would 4 to 5 be reasonable? I don't know. I'm gonna let tree board kind of make that recommendation instead of going to planning commission. That is a city standard. But, based on what we are, I don't mind the planning commission seeing it, but I would like to see the tree board first have a crack at addressing the park strip to begin with utilities. That might guide that discussion somewhere. So that's kind of where we are with that. I just want to give you an update. So I had to put on the agenda. So if there is any discussion or thoughts, I just want to keep this brief. I don't want to have an hour-long tree discussion, but we can if you want.
So you're taking it to the tree board their next meeting, right?
January 15th. Yep.
Okay. Further questions for Brad on that?
Thank you. That's all.
All right.
That
Thank
could have
you.
been a city manager reporting.
All right, so number 9 is minutes reviews acceptance table from 12/17/2009. We got the December 3rd joint work session with the tree board, and we got the December 17th, 2019 city council member minutes. Leah, remind me why we tabled that December 3rd one.
There was
Because
some,
there were parts that we wanted added. They're the
Okay.
ones in yellow.
Super. So in looking at that, what's been added, is everybody okay with that, or is there further questions?
I move we accept the minutes of the December 3rd, 2019 City Council Tree Board Joint Work Session and the December 17th, 2019 City Council meeting.
second.
A motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Let's go to city council reports. Any of you, since we met 3 weeks ago, I know we had the holidays in there, and so there was a lot of that festivities taking place, but any reports on your old appointments, and now you have new appointments, or anything else that you want to make us aware of?
I've mentioned this before, but just this week, we're finalizing the more quantitative survey that will be going out. Y2 Analytics is doing that for the rec district in their master planning process.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fillmore. Any,
In
George?
anticipation of the reappointment to the mosquito board, in my absence, they voted me in as the vice chair, so.
Lucky you.
Ooh, I'm glad I didn't get that one.
I was going to spring that on whoever was next, that you're not the vice chair, so.
So you're vice chair there, Councilwoman Fillmore is chair of the Parks and Rec Board, so.
And that happened to me on the planning commission.
You weren't there and
I
they-
was gone that week.
Yeah,
and they made me
that's
do
what
it.
happened.
What happens when you're not there to defend yourself?
Yeah, it will not change the mosquito counts in Centerville at all, so, just so we're aware.
Anybody else? Okay, mayor's report. Before I forget, George made me remember that COG rotates monthly by the cities, and in the 2 years that I've been mayor, we'd never hosted it. So we are hosting the COG meeting on the 3rd Wednesday of March, and it's going to be hosted down. I reached out before I volunteered him to Jansen down at Center Point Theater. We're going to host it down there, but of course everybody's welcome to come as well too. Generally, you have at COG, you have the mayors, you have the county commissioners, you have the Davis Chamber of Commerce president, you have visitors that come. They generally take 2 or 3 presentations from people throughout the county of programs they have going on. And so if you're available, you're all welcome to come since
What
we're
time?
hosting that night. That is generally at like 5 o'clock.
What was the date on that?
That will be, is that March?
March 18th.
Yeah, I'm going by,
18th?
is that what the Wednesday is?
Wednesday, 19th. Oh, March. I was in
March
February.
18th.
Yes, March 18th.
At 5?
At
Yeah.
5, did you say?
People start coming at like 4:45. So what we'll do on that is, obviously they'll allow me to talk a little bit about our city, so anything you want to fill me with, I'd welcome that. We'll allow Jansen to do a little field trip of the Performing Arts Center, take them around a bit as well too. And then the rest of the business that takes place. Mayor Lewis is the chair of the COG from Bountiful, so.
I think that's a great idea to host it and a great idea to have it at the Center Point.
Yeah. Yeah, I reached out to both Jansen and Brandt, and we felt that was a good a place to do it. So we normally 20 to 30 people that come to that. So the other thing is that since we met last, we did have I had a DARE graduation over at Taylor. And that was a lot of fun to watch those kids, those fifth, sixth graders. I had one come up and sing the school song, and he got a little shy, but everybody joined in, and the enthusiasm is just tremendous at those. It's a marvelous program, wonderful program. So, any questions for me before I present a couple names for Planning Commission? Okay, so I had submitted these and sent these to you in advance. We have Planning Commission, we got to get this staffed. So there's two names for Planning Commission, Mason Kerr and Christina Wilcox. And I sent you your resume on both of those.
I would motion that we give advice and consent on the two names specified.
I second that.
I just have to say I'm sad.
You're
Because
sad.
we've enjoyed Mason on the Landmarks Commission, so
Well, here's the thing.
I'm a little sad about that.
Here's the thing about Mason. He's sitting actually here with us tonight.
Yes.
And Mason has quite a fun personality and says, Mayor, I'll continue on Landmarks Commission. So until I appoint somebody else, Mason, you have that for right now. Okay.
We'll be happy with that.
Two lucky bodies.
So we have a motion and a second on those appointments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. Mason, for your information, you'll be getting update from Corey and others about training and what you do and that sort of thing. But so, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We look forward to watching you on YouTube.
All right. So the next item is city manager's report. Brent?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've already discussed two items. That's the ADUs, where I've actually already received word back from Syracuse, so they're actually going to send me their ordinances tomorrow. They did not opt out of the building code, just FYI. I emailed or texted the city manager over there. Anyway, so
Can I just jump in?
please.
Not only, while you're bothering communicating with these cities, not only do we want to see their ordinance, but we would like to see their numbers of takers, right?
As who is, sure. I mean, I guess in Ephraim, we had it. Now, as far as developing numbers to say who the takers are, it might be a challenging thing. I don't know.
Well, can you go by permitted?
Just permits.
Yeah, we can look at the permits.
Permits that are taken out on.
Absolutely, we'll look at that too. Honestly, it's actually a good discussion for us as staff to find out. Just having the league get all the data for us and say, here's the data, really doesn't help us out because there's nuances in each one. And if you don't have that conversation with each city, it really doesn't help a lot. But you're absolutely right. Understanding the permits could be very valuable.
And I'm so glad you're doing it, so great.
Yeah, and then the soft numbers, what does the staff believe is their non-permitted ADUs?
Yeah.
Many much.
I was gonna say, I don't know the name, but
Well, there's going to be a perception from staff or from law
You
enforcement.
want a margin of error of some sort? Is that
That would be a very large
It'd
margin
be
of
a
error.
very large margin of error, but I would be interested to see, my perception is going to be that you're permitted to perceive, non-permitted is going to be a huge number.
It depends on how, I'll tell you right now, it depends on how easy it is, right? So if you make it extremely prohibitive and challenging, you're going to see people not. If you make it real easy, it's kind of like animal licensing, right? If it's inexpensive, everybody's going to license their animals. If you make it really expensive, nobody's going to license their animals.
But that's exactly our point,
So-
is it's the building code that I'll be really surprised if there's a city out there that is skirting the building code, right?
Ephraim did. Clearfield
Well,
is.
we'd love to hear
You-
how, but-
You are, but there again, that's the argument. It's your ordinance defines what is familial or whatever, what are persons or whatever. It's a different definition that you define what it is. And that's,
inviting so many comments that we don't.
Well,
wanna
and so
start
that's what I'm
sharing
curious
this.
about, is to my comment in the work
I
session.
don't want to create a discussion, but yeah.
Yeah, no, just to, because you're making the phone calls, these are the questions,
Sure.
right? To my comment in the work session, well, at the state building code level, is it as easy as defining single-family home in a certain way? And I think I hear you saying that cities might be doing that at the city level.
Sure.
But if they're doing that at the city level, that does not override the state code. So it still doesn't work.
It's like medical marijuana. How about that?
Yeah.
It's illegal at the
It
federal
is.
level,
That
but
is
nobody's
exactly what
enforcing
it
it.
is. It's medical marijuana.
So we're going to
Moving right
grassroots
along.
this up? Is that, we're going to
There's-
say, ULCT will just do it our way,
Well,
city by city?
And that's the soft number I think is going to be hard, is there's what's on the books and there's what's being enforced.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's a good question, so thank you for digging deeper.
Sure. No, I think it'll be an enlightening for staff as well to understand. So then I discussed the park strip. The other, I just want to make you aware of an event coming up on January 17th, the Utah Economic Outlook and Public Policy Summit. Has anybody ever attended that? Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce sponsors this, and I've attended the last 3 years. It's at the Salt Lake downtown Marriott City Creek, the City Creek Marriott there. But anyway, they have Natalie Gotchner and a whole bunch of other, economicists out that discuss what's the status of Utah. Governor comes and gives a presentation. They have some leadership from the legislature that talks about what they're going to be focusing over the next year. But I always find that fascinating, and it's actually a really good network opportunity to meet with other people and things like that and discuss issues in your own cities. But anyway, I just want to make you aware of that event. I sent the mayor the link, but if you're interested in knowing more about that, I'll send you the link. But
I look forward to your synopsis.
Yeah, I will report on it because it is pretty fascinating. But
Well,
if you're interested, let me know.
Speaking of the chamber, there's also the Housing Gap Big Tent meeting tomorrow morning, 9:30 to 10:30 a.m.
Where is this?
At the chamber,
Okay.
175 East, 400 South, number 600.
Okay. I'll look.
I can forward this.
If you would, that'd be great.
The chamber has been sponsoring this Housing Gap Coalition, and they've been having these regular big tent meetings where they're trying to invite as many policymakers and thinkers on the subject to get together and get updates and just keep the discussion going.
That's where Senate Bill 34 basically was negotiated as well,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, these are where some legislation is coming out of those discussions, where you have developers, you have land use attorneys, you have everybody, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, that's good to know, thank you. Other than that, I don't have anything else, Mayor. And there's questions for me.
Do we have any update on Bank of America's status in the Iggy's building? Is there any movement? Did they decide to come there? What have we got?
Great question. So I thought about that today as I was catching up on emails, and I have not sent an email to Matt, but it is flagged to send an email tomorrow to Matt Salcedo. Salcedo.
I had asked a couple of weeks ago about the status of the hotel and made a suggestion of a consideration we might want to do. We got any update on that?
As far as the RDA, so I don't know if you saw the follow-up email from Corey, who mentions that is no-go. They're actually reapplying and resubmitting their application. They have expired, essentially.
I missed that, no.
Yeah, so there's an email from Corey just letting you know that essentially it expired. Maybe I'll let Lisa run with it. But anyway, we met with Logan and we discussed where are we going with this. They've actually changed and they feel like they have a better idea of what they'd like to do with the residential side. They're still pursuing. There was some holdup with the hotel side when I met with Spence. The partners fell through. They came back, fell through, and it just died. And at that point, they're just reevaluating what they want to do with that property. So they'll be pushing that forward and reapplying in the near future.
So I hope that they go back and review the discussion we had, because I think the legislative intent was very clear about controlling the rooftops and that the amenity of a hotel or restaurant was key to that density.
So I will share with you, yes, there absolutely still is a component of commercial. They still have the 2 commercial pads that they will be pursuing tenants for. I did throw out there, in all honesty, based on this Iggy's, is a restaurant would be an awesome amenity out there on that west side that would support those rooftops or those units over there. And they love the idea, and I don't know if he's running with it or where they are with it, but they heard us loud and clear that we'd like to see potentially some.
Because I can be fairly confident that if they came in with rooftops and they wanted to phase that first, that would get
That was no consideration in our conversations. just
Okay,
saying.
great.
And a restaurant down there that would support those rooftops less, but the theater more.
Correct.
Would be extremely attractive to me.
And even Centerpoint Theater, right? Because you lose.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
so
sorry.
Megaplex and Centerpoint.
Right.
It was
Less Megaplex, more Centerpoint.
Sure.
Well, just to keep our expectations
already.
realistic, I just want to throw out there that we've been talking about a restaurant for a really long time. And rooftop count is usually done in diameter, and so the challenge there is that on our west side, we hit the wetlands, the lakes, so that's what makes it tough.
Agreed. When he referred to Logan, Logan's with Right Development, and they own that property. I had kept on my desk the developer and the motel owner, and I'd call them 2 or 3 times during the process, and I could see, oh yeah, we're still working that out, that was dying, and then Brant confirmed that it had.
One other item, if we, I don't think this has been shared just yet, there's been questions about the cement out at Island View Park and the compaction. So just so you know, an email came out from Bruce and Kevin discussing the compaction. Now, it is within standards, but it is far less than the 100% or 95% you're looking for. There's a number of ways we can handle that, and that'll be brought before you, whether it's a decrease in cost to the project. It still meets standard as being safe. It's because our standards are 4.0, or 2.0 is the standard, but we expect 4.0, right? So we're well above 2.0. What units, I don't know. But that's what was shared in the email, so I got to follow up on that. So we'll have a conversation with you regarding how do you want to proceed. Would you like it to be torn down and redone? There's a cost to us at that level, or are we looking for potentially a decrease in our amount to the contractor? There's a number of ways we can pursue it. But overall, if it doesn't collapse or fail while construction equipment is there, highly unlikely it's going to fail.
So from a spec perspective, we specified?
So let me pull up the email now that I brought it up. Again, I don't want to get into a huge discussion. I just want to give you an update.
No, I'm just saying,
While we're at it-
whatever spec is generally what I like to buy.
Sure.
While we're at it, is that a continuing issue with the concrete that's been poured more recently than we talked about this last time? Or is that just the original?
As far as we know, it's just that original. We have not seen any issues based on our tests since then. But I'll update you more maybe in a future email. I'll forward the email on to all of you so you have it.
Yeah.
Okay?
To me, if it's on spec, I'm probably okay, but if we gave, even though there's a range, if we specified and they agreed to that, that's pretty much where I'd end up.
The challenge is who becomes responsible for that cost? Is it them? Is it the concrete company? There's a level of...
That's when I stare at Lisa and go,
Right.
if it's spec'd, it's them.
Well, we will have that discussion.
Okay, I need to understand that more, but if we
Yeah.
didn't give them a range and we gave them a spec number and they didn't hit it, it seems pretty straightforward.
We'll speak on it more.
Okay.
Just want to give you a heads up. That's coming, so just so you know, we haven't forgotten about it. It's there. And I'll leave it at that if you don't have any other questions.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
I'm not aware of any need for a closed session, so with that, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council is closed. Thank you, everyone.